Welcome back to Fuqua Sports. We continue our college football predictions with our top 25 rankings. These are based on my win-loss predictions revealed over the past couple of days, so to see where I place your favorite team among others, make sure to check out all of my YouTube shorts and my long-form video covering all of my predictions for every team. But without further ado, let's get into things. I'm going to change up how I present these rankings, unlike years past where I start at the bottom of the top 25 and work up. I'm going to start with all of my predicted conference champions right now. I have the defending national champions Ohio State taking the top seed in this year's playoff bracket. They have arguably the best players in the nation on both sides of the ball in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. I have them beating Penn State in the Big Ten championship game, extending their winning streak over the Nittany Lions to 10 if Ohio State also wins their regular season matchup in Columbus. Clemson comes in at 2 with a win in the ACC championship game over Miami. I love what Dabo Swinney's building over there, and it looks as if the Tigers are finally back to national contending form, a place they haven't really been at since the COVID season. Also, I think they can pile up wins in the ACC and climb up the rankings more easily than these Big Ten or SEC teams. Those two conferences will be a gauntlet. Texas, I've seeded 3rd. This is because I have Georgia winning the SEC regular season championship, in large part due to hosting the Longhorns in Athens and the Bulldogs' insane 32-game home winning streak. But I do believe Texas can win the SEC championship game at a neutral site and leapfrog the Bulldogs in the final college football playoff rankings. Arizona State's my 4th highest ranked conference champion and coming in at 8th overall. If you've seen my Big 12 predictions, you'll see the giant logjam atop the conference. There's just so much parity in the conference, and it will definitely be the most fun conference to watch for in 2025. And in 2024, 4 of the top 5 teams in the Big 12's preseason media poll missed the bowl game, so anyone's guess for 2025's champion is as good as anyone else's. I'm leaning on the defending champion getting the job done over Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game, and I think with an 11-2 record, the playoff committee would award the Sun Devils a home game in the first round of the playoffs. Then I have Boise State getting the Group of 5 split in the playoff. Not nearly as dominant as they were in 2024, but they have the foundation to take care of business in the Mountain West and return to the playoff picture. And there's really no clear consensus top threat opposing the Broncos for that playoff spot. Some are thinking Tulane and Navy are a team out of the American Athletic, and I'm thinking James Madison will be their biggest threat. Toledo and Western Kentucky are my other conference champions, but for now I'm penciling in Boise State, as are so many other people. I'm going to reveal 3 of the 7 at-large bids as well. I have Georgia at 4. I mentioned earlier that I think they'll win the SEC regular season championship and enter conference championship weekend ranked 1st or 2nd, so a loss to Texas shouldn't bump them down that far. And Kirby Smart is known for producing NFL talent year in and year out, so despite a little bit of roster turnover, I still think the Bulldogs will be just fine and comfortably inside the playoff picture. I have Penn State at 5 after an 11-1 regular season. With so many returning pieces, they're a popular pick to win the Big Ten championship game, but James Franklin needs to prove to me that he can win those big games. And no, those playoff wins against SMU and Boise State a year ago don't count in my book. But it starts with beating Ohio State, something they haven't done in 8 tries going back to 2016. And once they do, maybe I'll be a little bit more convinced. Notre Dame I have at 6, an 11-1 record, and I think they'll slip up somewhere, probably on the road against Miami, but if not there, I can see them slipping up against Texas A&M or Arkansas from the SEC, or even Boise State or Navy from the Group of 5. They lost to a Group of 5 team last year. But regardless, a strong record for the Fighting Irish. It'll just be extremely hard for them to get a first round bye if they aren't 12-0 because they're not in the conference and cannot play in conference championship weekend. So those top 6 teams I feel extremely confident will be in the college football playoff come December. They're in the Big 12 champion and the Group of 5 champion. That's 8 spots, so 4 spots left. So for now I'm going to go down to reveal the bottom of my top 25 rankings. At 25 I have Tennessee at 8-4. Despite the loss of Nico Iamaleava, the Volunteers have the foundation to still compete in the SEC. And in my predictions, the Volunteers come in at 9th in the SEC, which just goes to show you how competitive and deep the conference is, but also how difficult wins are to come by, and that not every hyped up SEC team can win 9 or 10 games, because there are a lot of hyped up SEC teams. The ESPN FBI ranks 13 of the 16 teams in the conference inside of their top 25. At 24, I have Iowa, 7th place in the Big Ten, always competitive under Kirk Ferentz. They haven't missed a bowl game since 2012, and they've always won at least 8 games in every non-COVID season since 2015. And this year, it appears they might actually have a competent offense that might outplay their defense. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Hawkeyes solely because of their defense that might take a step back, but with an improved offense, it helps Iowa not be so one-dimensional. At 23, I have Ole Miss, 8th in the SEC. Lane Kiffin's always a crafty coach, so despite losing a ton of production from 2024, the Rebels should rebound nicely and compete for wins. At 22, I have Texas Tech, 4th in Big 12. They haul in the nation's 2nd-best transfer portal class, so they're expecting big results this season. It kind of feels like now or never, but they've also never competed for a Big 12 championship game. But in a year where the conference is so wide open, maybe the Red Raiders can make history in 2025. And at 21, I have Texas A&M, 7th in the SEC and also 8-4, along with Ole Miss and Tennessee. Let's see if they can break away from this 8-4 threshold that's been holding them back. The Aggies haven't won more than 8 games in a non-COVID season since 2013. And again, the conference is so deep and wins are so hard to get. There's no easy weeks in the SEC, well, besides the conference's FCS Cupcake week in November. I mean, the SEC seriously needs to add a 9th conference game to compare with the Big Ten. But breaking the top 20 of SMU, 3rd place in the ACC, if Clemson doesn't live up to the hype and Miami has another collapse in November, I could very well see the Mustangs winning the ACC and only their 2nd season in the conference. At 19, I have BYU, 3rd in the Big 12, and I had Kansas State in at 18, 2nd in the Big 12. So going back to the logjam that I mentioned when talking about Arizona State, I have both of these teams with the conference records of 6-3. I also have Texas Tech, Utah, Iowa State, Baylor, and TCU also all at 6-3 in the conference. So that just shows you how confident I am in my predictions in the Big 12. And BYU won 12 games in that series, and they have a strong foundation for another high finish even after their starting quarterback has stated his intentions to transfer out of the program. And I feel mildly confident that Kansas State will play in the Big 12 championship game because they're undeniably the most stable and predictable team in the Big 12 from year to year. But yeah, truthfully, after last year when the Big 12 preseason media polls last place team won the conference, I have no idea what's going to happen in the Big 12. At 16 and 17, I have Illinois and Indiana, 5th and 6th in the Big 10 respectively. Both pleasant surprises a year ago, especially Indiana. And these teams combined to go 6-1 in one-possession games in 2024, so I think that might even back out in 2025, but regardless, both teams have the foundations for strong Big Ten finishes this season. Okay, 7 spots left. I'm sure after seeing my win-loss predictions, you can do process of elimination and know the 7 teams that are missing. Those 7 teams in order are Alabama, Florida, LSU, Miami, Michigan, Oregon, and South Carolina. And if you saw my win-loss predictions, you'd also know that 3 of those teams I have at 10-2. The defending Big Ten champion, the Oregon Ducks, 3rd in the Big Ten in my predictions. Alabama of the SEC, 3rd in that conference as well. And I have Miami finishing at 10-2, 2nd in the ACC, and the committee shouldn't drop them out of the playoff field, even with a predicted loss in the ACC championship game. So those 3 teams are in my playoff field, so that leaves 1 spot for 4 teams, Florida, LSU, Michigan, or South Carolina. In my SEC predictions, I have LSU at 4th. It's sort of do or die for Billy Napier. The previous 3 coaches at LSU have all won national championships, so there's definitely some increasing pressure for Napier, and he brings in the nation's best transfer portal class. So that eliminates Florida, who I have in 5th in the SEC, and South Carolina, who I have coming in at 6th in the conference. So it comes down to LSU and Michigan. Both I have in 4th place in their respective conferences, and I think the committee will really look at strength of schedule and reward the Tigers. And Michigan, even though they finished 2024's back-to-back wins against Ohio State and Alabama, they still had a lot of stuff go wrong for them. They had 5 losses, and I think LSU is standing at a more stable position right now, so I'm going to take the Tigers to be the last team in. Florida and Michigan are my first teams out, Florida at 13 and Michigan at 14. But this is my projected college football playoff bracket. Stay tuned for my next video that will cover my playoff predictions in its entirety, as well as my bowl projections for every other bowl eligible team. But these are my official top 25 predictions for the end of the season, and I also listed my other 8-win power conference teams in the bottom right hand side of the screen. Many of them are from the Big 12, which I mentioned several times earlier, but the 8-win teams I just missed my top 25 are Baylor, Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Iowa State, Louisville, Nebraska, TCU, and Utah. But that's going to do it for this video. Keep in mind that this isn't my preseason top 25 evaluation, but rather what the top 25 could look like at the end of the season according to my predictions. And be alert for my final video to my college football predictions for 2025. Again, that will cover my college football playoff predictions as well as my bowl projections for every other bowl eligible team. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video. But what is your top 25? I'd love to hear it in the comments down below, and have a good one.